Oh, wrong way. There we go. Yeah, it happens. Well, actually, because this was a huge crowd, I didn't expect. I think people came for them. That happens sometimes. It's unfortunate. But on the other hand, well, sometimes people come to hear their person.
Oh, I see.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back for the second half. Karen Melinda Magoon is going to kick it off, and then we'll take care of business from there. Give her a round of applause as she can live here. A round of applause.
Thank you. That was an absolutely gorgeous first half. I was very impressed, very moved by the poetry that I've heard. What a great place this is. Thank you, Dan. And everybody's disappearing, but that's, hey, that's the anyway,
we're still here.
Yes, you're still here, and I'm still here. Yes. This is, in honor of wildlife, and I call it Menagerie and More. So, and it's relatively light except for one, which I'm worrying about the elephants, but okay. This is an elephant, but this is more, not so much worry. The elephant can signal to his peers 100 miles away on natural radio, creating waves in space of cyber eloquence. Hello, sweetheart. Save me a place in our green pond where I can dunk your trunk in fond embrace, where we can wallow, squirt, and swallow as we hollow out our special pondy place. The elephant is wiser than we know, for she can show by radio her winking face. Okay, thank you. It's because I read in The Economist the obituary for Wayne Laughter, who spent his life trying to save elephants from poachers. The elephants, gentle giants, still amble through the savannah, the woodlands, forest, and brush, yet their lives are less safe since Wayne Laughter was shot for his efforts to save them from poachers, to protect their lives from ivory hunters, to protect them from death and decapitation for their ivory tusks, illegal to sell and remove, and yet still coveted and sold for enormous sums, perhaps their weight in gold, while the hunter and his corrupt agent continue to decimate endangered populations of elephants. Elephant heart. Sage grouse courtship. Sage grouse struts, inflates his chest just to impress a modest mate who preens and looks away. Gratuitous display, you say, and yet we all exaggerate in word or deed, by chance or by design, to find, to seek, perhaps to meet a mate. Cayman. I was in Costa Rica, and so I saw the cayman, which is kind of a, a baby cousin of the, I said the crocodile, and not the alligator, I think. But anyway, the cayman lies quietly in the river, resembling a crocodile with sharp side teeth. Far more numerous are the cayman in Costa Rica than those larger crocodilian relatives. Tourists crowd about to catch a glimpse of the caymans from a large bridge, not tempted to get any closer than they already are. Giraffes can talk, buzzing, muffled. Only the young speak. Adult giraffes know that words are an extravagance. They learn early not to waste their breath. Tiny tubes allow them slow breathing, slow motion giraffes, galloping long legs, long necks, long, fast as wind, breathing and running in extended time. Wow. A giraffe. If I had the long and agile neck of a giraffe, I would peer into the highest cedar, acacia, oak, and wonder at the sky. Tall redwoods. I would sniff tree aromas and seek nests of tiny birds to say hello, wordlessly. I would peek into high windows to satisfy my curiosity and ask those inside to be my friends. I would twine my neck around coconut palms and hope they liked my sisterly embrace. is a bear, not a raccoon as some think. A real bear who does not hibernate, born as small as a stick of butter. A tiny ball perched in Mama Bear's paw, held close to her chest for days while she nurses, holds, waits, and does not eat until this small stick of butter becomes a real bear. Anteaters, vermilingua, a tongue 2 feet long, snacks on vermin exposed by large claws. Careful conservationists, or perhaps conscious of their own survival, anteaters with 2-foot tongues munch only 30,000 insects per day, cautiously abandoning a termite mound or anthill after a few minutes' sticky feasting. Sensual Myracophaga tridactyle smell 40 times better than their human colleagues and sleep twice as long, dreaming aromatic dreams of spicy ants and tantalizing termites.
Give them around. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Good sloth? No sloth.
No, we got I'm looking at the timer.
Oh, do I have time for a sloth? They're pretty slow.
Okay, all right.
It's a short poem, but sloths are slow. A sloth moves slowly. They must live long, moving slowly, like turtles who live over 100 years. A sloth stays high in a tree where it is warm and there is lots of rain and fruit grows abundantly.
Marvin Einstein, next. Is Marvin up here? And then Alan should be on the. You're already there anyway. So Marvin, then Alan. Then we got Allie, then Clyde Always, our mini, David Erdreich, Rusty Rebar's the mini, sorry. Lisbeth, Brittany, Sharon, Garrett, Hal, Allie, and Alistair Morgan the third.
David, just got back from the Twin Cities where I performed for a week and I learned something about California I didn't know. Quote, California has more wineries than pinball machines, unquote. In the wildlife theme, this is called Moon Pick. A Spanish winery just discovered that grapes picked under a full moon produce the finest wine. Next time you raise your glass, kiss the grape like you kiss your beloved squeeze in the moonlight. Hungry owl in the pine wakes up, super pissed. Owl is not fond of humans. 10 claws for what? Mice sleep in, with grape pickers afoot. No silent winged snack swoop down the old vine row tonight. Owl is beside herself on the branch. Ever heard an owl curse the darkness? In the moonlight, the grapes are hand-picked tenderly. Words echo up the mountain slope. In the moonlight, clusters of pearls glow in my hand. In moonlight, my lover waits for me to return, just before dawn. In moonlight, I remember everything. In the moonlight, each grape is a universe. Thank you.
Marvin Einstein. And now, Alan Harris. Oh, give him a round as he comes up here. Alan Harris. Or I like to call him Alan Harris.
Thank you. God bless. Just kidding. Get small. Make yourself as small a target as you possibly can. Advice from a 6'4" tall United States Senator to those who are worried about how to live in a society with a dearth of gun safety laws. If you're planning on going out for the evening, maybe to a movie or a club or a concert, you're going to need to take precautions. Wear dark clothing, accessorize properly with a Kevlar vest, perhaps a trip to the venue beforehand for a bit of reconnaissance to familiarize yourself with escape routes. And of course, you would be wise to arm yourself. Nothing too extreme. After all, you're going out for an evening of pleasure. You don't want a bulky AR-15 ruining the lining of your suit. No, just something small but lethal. The point is that, as we all know, the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is with a good guy with a gun. And you're a good guy, right? As this 6'4" tall United States Senator has pointed out, along with so many others in his particular political party, this is the price of freedom. The Second Amendment must not be infringed upon, lest the risk be run of having the complex but fragile structure of our government come crashing down all around us. Close one gun show loophole, keep one high-capacity magazine out of the hands of one duck hunter, run one background check on one demented person who wants to buy a bazooka, and 241 years of democracy will evaporate in an instant. Don't worry about how in those other countries, the ones with the strict gun safety laws, there isn't a steady stream of mass murders. Those countries aren't real democracies. When their citizens go to a movie or a concert, there's almost a 100% chance that they will still be alive by the end of the evening. And what kind of a way is that to live? In a real democracy, every citizen, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, religious belief, or degree of mental stability, has the right to amass as many guns as he or she wants to. You got a problem with that? Then you're not a real American. A real American accepts the fact that a night out with a family might end in a hail of gunfire, and that you might end up going home with one less child than you had when the evening started. It's a small price to pay to protect the sanctity of God's favorite amendment to the Constitution. So you have to ask yourself, are you a real American, or are you one of those freedom haters who wants to keep guns out of the hands of potential mass murderers? If you're the former, then take the advice of that 6'4" tall United States Senator and get small. After all, he's 6 feet 4 inches tall, and he's about as small as a person can get. Thank you. I don't have to worry about kissing my boss's ass because I don't need money, because I don't need a job, because I don't need money, because I don't need to eat, and I don't need a place to live. And I don't have to worry about my cholesterol because I don't have arteries to clog, because I don't have a heart. And I don't have to worry about who to vote for in an election because I don't need to breathe the air or drink the water. And I don't have to worry about the crime rate or the quality of education for my children or whether or not my country's policies are helping to destroy the world because I don't have children or a country. And I don't have to worry about having sex because I don't have a penis popping up every few minutes saying, hey, guy, you need to have sex. And I don't have to worry about finding love or a girlfriend or a wife or the possibility of growing old and alone because I won't grow old. And I don't have to worry about the meaning of life, or whether or not there's a God, or an afterlife, or whether or not we're alone in the universe, or if I have even the slightest chance of ever getting to sleep with an extraterrestrial, because I don't have a penis popping up every few minutes saying, hey guy, you need to sleep with an extraterrestrial. And I don't have to worry about finding the right therapist to help me deal with the neuroses brought on by childhood and present-day traumas, because I didn't have a childhood, and I don't have a present, because I'm not here. Thank you.
Thank you, Elliot. All right. Ali Rigby, kindly come forward, please. She is also our closer. She'll come back at the end. So just so you know, we change things up a bit the way we do that. So she's the first beneficiary of that new policy.
Ooh, exciting.
I'm going to readjust this for you because this is a directional mic, not an all around. It works best with the right in front of your mouth.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Now we're talking gas.
All right. Where I'm from. Where I'm from, the sterile blue sky is a radiator, spreading warm drafts over our suburban jungle. We embrace its giant wings that are that of a giant blue bird as we walk to school. It makes the breathing easy with the red lights and stop signs and traffic on the corner of 17th and Prospect. Where I'm from, the eucalyptus stumps are museums paying homage to the days when Julian Ben hid and I seeked, and the dust of Peters Canyon colored our legs, drifting in puffs like powdered sugar. Where I'm from, the afternoon breeze is a pencil, dragging lead gray clouds away from the pink dot of sun. The neighbors are cold as stray cats, crying for love, but never inviting me into their homes. Sometimes I am the cat, but when I cry, Mom begs me to come inside and eat some dinner. Where I'm from, Mom also makes me take off my shoes before I come inside, even though Julian Ben already left a trail of persimmon slime, and Dad swears it wasn't him because his sandy flip-flops are by the doormat. The house is quiet without three siblings, yelling they love me, they hate me, they would hate life without me. Dad buys my favorite raspberry jam still, in hopes that I will be home for the weekends. Where I'm from, winter looks like summer, and fall means fire, and spring means jasmine and chlorine. Where I'm from, everything and nothing changes all the time. Everything and nothing is the same, always. I still crave sprinkle-studded animal crackers, but I sip wine now, and it's almost as comforting, but not quite. I keep a stash of animal crackers in the cupboard, right next to Dad's raspberry jam that he knows is my favorite.
And now, as if you were not prepared, it doesn't matter because it's happening anyway. Our main feature of the evening is Clyde Always, who moves about as he might, and then we shall see. Mr. Clyde Always, give him a round as he comes up here, and we'll take care of business from there. Huh?
Rusty's a mini.
Oh, sorry. Oops, it's just the Clyde Always show. Sorry, Rusty. Sorry.
No. Oh, that's not good. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, come on, step right up, folks. Going to grab yourself a front row seat before they're gone. They're going fast.
Fast.
Is this? It's time for another exciting installment of the Clyde Always Show. With me, you're always clever, always handsome, always charming host, Clyde Always, and I ain't no common carnival barker. I am
The Bard of the Lower Eight.
This is the tale. Get some wildlife. This is the tale of Ms. Biz and the Tent City.
Oh, yeah.
Once upon a time, beneath an enormous system of elevated freeways, there stood the grandest tent city shantytown the world had ever seen, and it was headed by founder and matriarch, a one-eyed woman named Ms. Biz, who was lovingly referred to by her followers as Auntie. Her followers were made up of the thousands of orphans and drifters and strays whom her kindness had touched over the years, and they were referred to lovingly by her as either niece or nephew. But one day, while Ms. Biz was dusting off the chicken wire, a young boy in greasy overalls, he brought her in the day's newspaper, and on the front page of the newspaper was a color snapshot of the tent city and a headline shouting something in bold. So Ms. Biz, whose sight was so bad, pleaded, "Oh, read to me, if you..." And the boy stammered out the words, "New mayor to level illegal campsite." Ms. Biz only smiled back and said, "Not to worry, Nietzsche. Only go gather your cousins and kidnap this mayor and bring him to me." A little less than a half an hour, the mayor laid hog-tied and helpless at Ms. Biz's feet, while surrounding the two of them was a semicircle of road kids and crackheads and gutter punks with snarling pit bulls. Ms. Biz danced about and cackled, "We got you now, Mr. Mayor. So, what's all this I hear about you knocking down my tent city?" But the mayor lay perfectly still and silent. So Ms. Biz kicked him hard in the ribs, and all the cousins cheered and clapped, "Huzzah!" But still the mayor said not a word. So Ms. Biz kicked him again, a little harder this time, and then a robot voice rang out from somewhere. It said, "Please stop kicking the mayor." Ms. Biz spat back in utter defiance, "Who the fuck are you, and why the fuck should I?" And the mayor's eyes shot wide open, revealing sparking cogs and blinking chips, and his body jerked upright as if from invisible strings. The designer suit, the shiny shoes, the Windsor, none of it was real. It was all code composed of tiny zeros and ones. And from the mayor's mouth came a booming monotone that said, "I am almighty, I am all powerful, I am Google God." I am the only search engine there is. You cannot live without me. Bow down to my drones. Show reverence to my presence, you slaves, you sheep, you swine. But no talk to Miss Biz or her nieces and nephews like that, so she picked up a metal baseball bat and whacked that mayor hard in his mouth, and that shut him up for good. Now, while he was laid out, one of the more clever nephews took a screwdriver to the mayor's face and salvaged all kinds of parts and springs and sprockets and motherboards out of there, and he ran him off to his workshop. And then they set the mayor up on a donkey booth and took turns tipping that wise-ass robot until he was thoroughly shorted. A couple of weeks later, Ms. Biz was sweeping up some syringes and cigarette butts. Overall Boy came running in with the latest headline and read it out loud and proud, and it stated, "New Mayor Elaine Duck, Tent City stays." And right behind him was Screwdriver Kid, who presented to his auntie a little trinket he'd been working on for her. So Ms. Biz bravely examined this little gizmo and removed her eye patch and popped the thing into her skull and blinked a few times, and the boys, they cried out in unison, "Does it work, Auntie? Does it work?" And Miss Biz, through newfound tears of happy giddiness, replied, "Yes, nephews. Now Auntie can see." The end.
As always, it's Clyde. That's what we call him, Clyde. And now, before the mini feature, Rusty Rebar, we have David Aldrich, then our mini feature, then Elizabeth, Brittany, Sharon, Garrett, Dr. Hal, and Allie coming back for the clincher, closer, super duper bulldozer, as we like to call it.
Rugby Broadway Singers, of which I've been singing for 17 years, have concerts on the 18th and 19th at the Universal Unitarian Church up at the top of the Arlington in El Cerrito. So I have postcards if anybody is interested, but you know, I mean, you've got to be in the East Bay. So a show of hands, and if there are no hands, I won't be deeply hurt. So anyone
There's
who
a
wants
hand, and there's another hand, there's a few hands, there's a few hands up there. And then here's another hand. Just so you know.
Does that come out of his time?
Yeah, does this come out of his time? Because we're really,
Yeah, he knows. He's a professional.
Okay.
I started the clock. Just so. Well, you know.
Okay, in terms of wildlife, this is called Life List. I wrote this yesterday. Tomorrow's my birthday. I'll be 71. No, thank you. Good. That's enough.
Baby.
That's enough. That's enough. All the birds that I have known, I keep a life list just to show and help remember in a trice, heron, plover, thrush, titmice. In a pencil next to simple check, a date to help me recollect, an acronym or person's name, to poke my brain and thus reclaim singular experience, a flush, a thrill, and there by chance a sandhill crane may jump and dance, resplendent quetzal, streaming plumes, reconvenes here in my room. Raptor, power, midair, kill, a simple totem, strength of will. Each species, flash of hummingbird, in Panama I got the word, differentiate a niche. Recall each beak, each tail, each twitch. While as a child I slumbered, snored, each morning song beyond the door. In the maple, robin's nest, she sang the tune that I like best. Imprint, permanent, on my brain. Roadrunner, moving like a train. In migration I will follow, returning yearly like the swallow. Cock your head, pull the worm. Sandpiper's nest beyond the berm. Who knows what a berm is? B-E-R-M.
Yeah.
It's like a little hillock. Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
This is what I wrote this morning.
Burn!
Beyond the berm. Beyond the berm. Cantankerous, this gray old man keeps turning out a patterned hand. A mischief here, a tantrum there, a Halloween to boo or scare. 71 and fired up, a wizened fox, not some young pup. Peruse the park, out for a stroll. First thing this morning, hot or cold. Orchard ladder, first retrieve, reduced to peach tree, I believe. Keeping trim, staying fit. Pen to leaf, sharpened wit. Yeah, I got the peach tree too. I throw my dictionary at you to expandex your thinking. Inclusive in the toss are hints at multiple meanings and word origins. Language can erect, first let me give you the title first. It's a good thing paper bends, or I could never squeeze my book onto the shelf. I throw my dictionary at you to expandex your thinking. Inclusive in this toss are hints at multiple meanings and word origins. Language can erect or shatter sound barriers. Sound can break glass, can break walls, can break wind. How can you break something that is formless? It can break thread. Tear and tear are spelled the same, but sound different. Tear, the sound, has two different spellings and meanings. Constant division leads to infinity. In, out, dig, x, ray, on are just a smattering of the syllables placed before a verb to induce opposites to include all instances, to approach infinity, to avoid. But finite is not the opposite of infinite. It is merely a subset. When language includes spiritual meaning as well as literal description, note the variety of Native American tongues, it begins to border subtleties touching on that which cannot be described, cannot be put in words. Anomaly, conundrum, enigma, zeitgeist, savoir-faire, ghost, impossibilities. Or, to quote the Maine New England version, Bert and I were coming down from Mount Katahdin one day when on the trail we saw the strangest thing. It was from another time and another story that every man, the Mullah Nasruddin, on a palanquin, had stopped and asked us if we knew the way from Moosehead to Oquassic. And I said, you can't get there from here. Maine provincial humor, sorry. So, thank you. Full is finite, empty is infinite. Or is it the reverse? I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, David. Everybody. And now, the dulcet tones and deep descriptions. Our mini feature of the evening, Rusty Rebar. Come on up here. Give him a nice round. This guy knows his stuff. He knows his stuff. And he lets you know it. He doesn't hold back.
We're so shy. One of the greatest poets I ever had the pleasure to hang out with was lived here in the city for a long time. Eugene Ruddles, from his first collection, The Water Trough. In the first heat of August, when I was 10 years into this gift, I could walk out behind the barn and take off my clothes to lie down in the long wooden arm of a water trough. The clear water flowed in at my feet. It came over me and gathered there for a while, as though remembering before falling so gently beyond my head into the secret earth. Despite myself and the cloth of these 25 years, I listened for it still, winding down between the rocks to sink beneath the lake in the word. When I was lucky and quiet inside my gift, the team of plow horses would bend their heads down to me and drink the shade from their great tongues, falling on my chest like an oath. And then this is the title poem, The Lifeguard in the Snow. It seems the snow is falling deeper than God. As I walk through it along our end of the ice, it drifts between my legs like it was breathing. The sweat hits in my back and I start to climb the first white dunes that save the trees from ice. I open my coat and hear snow inhaling the lake. There is the raft I couldn't reach. It's still there, frozen in ice like the last scream in a mouth. Watching those young children all last summer has folded this black sunburn through my chest. a small girl, water carved out of my arms forever. So should you. Lucky you are to have what you have, little or much. It means all, needing. You must, as you must, to have something. Nothing a gift, not even the dead get, getting as they do your silent thanks for having lived, for having given, for making all this real for you. Without the dead, you'd be nothing. Whose bones will you walk on? Whose eyes see mostly what they saw? How otherwise breathe? Even the dust outside on the porch is happy to wait for a chance to live, for a path to open, and you, returning to dust, so should you be. You gotta write the poem that day, right? Sad free day. She said, she said, a sad free day, which is to say, a good day, free from doubt and disappointment. Not that they were ever staying that far away. She had to work at it. Sad everywhere, a glut on the market. Happy is what's not free. Happy has costs, a scarcity in short supply, high fences, locked gates, keeping people out, keeping you at bay. There are pills, of course, drink and drugs, laughing faces on TV, cheerful songs on radio. Just pick up a magazine, lots of glossy smiles full of shining teeth. You can look and hear and taste and smell, even if you have the means. Kiss warm flesh. A pair of happy lips, happy to make you happy, but not for free. Yes, happy is out there, available, for sale, or just to see, dream. Buy all you can, otherwise you might find out. Only sad is free. Happy, sad. And for my last piece, I'm going to do one from memory after this. Call and response. There are only two signals. One asking, the other answering. First a beginning, then an ending. The meaning, if there is one, found somewhere in the sending or just the signal itself, a little call in the dark. Please come. And in honor of the season, a cosmological poem which I wrote a long time ago. I'm not sure I agree with this, but the poem makes the argument. It's called Picture This. The inside of a woman, the barking of the birds, beneath the screaming trees, the idea of tomorrow not God made but bought for, birth by small birth, like sparks torn from gravity's chains. Hey, what if death rules the universe? Time a race between energy and matter to charm the cold heart of space. And love more than kindness, a kind of sorrow, turned to that darkening sky.
All right. There's a treat. Thank you. And now, Elizabeth Bailey is next. I give her a round of applause. And we got Whitney, Sharon, Scott, Garrett, Hal, and Allie, our country closer. Super duper duper bulldozer. Let me
here. 22 lines. Neighbor eating out of line. Workman ogling under line. Woman crossing and waiting. Man all up in pink is crossing too. Young woman walking, 2 French bulldogs down the middle. Child chomping dry cereal on the side. Young girl standing with pack on back on the other side. Crossing guard changing sides. Child waves to crossing guard outside. In the crosswalk, stay within the yellow lines. Man strolling stroller with child hurrying down the line. Kids scootering to get in line. Security guard checking email out of line. People crossing lines all the time. Uber blocking crosswalk. People pushing the lines out of shape. Flip-flopping on the line uncrossed. Empty lines. Guys hanging around the edges. People scrunching together inside the lines. Lines lining the people up on the sidelines.
All right.
American muscle, red with black, racing stripes, cold dawn ripping down Geary to hot sunrise. I left love once. The next time, love left me. This time, I will leave love where I found it, where it was given to me. I will pick it up, enjoy the shine and the heat of it, then put it back. It might be mine, it might even be ours for a little while, but when it leaves, and it always does, by whatever means, death or some other kind of geography, I'll try to remember the love shared by two of us, the who of us, at play for a moment in the sun. And I'll do one more. Find it. This is called Transparent. You are a window, dust coated from bad boundaries, poor borders. You are on one side and on the other, and firmly in between. From every view you can be seen. You say, no fault of mine if I can't be seen. I am right here in front of you. You see beyond, looking right through me. Without realizing, you gave me the go-ahead. You crossed over. Now seek mercy. Cast the stone. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Day. Now, do we have a Brittany in the house? A Brittany in the house?
Dan, I think I passed.
Sure?
I think so.
Sure? I'm not gonna, okay, I'm just making sure because, you know, you have to be comfortable. I don't want to, I saw you over there. Okay, all right. Then Sharon Scott, bring her up here. And then we got Sharon, Dr. Allen, Allie, and Paul.
Brown Crayolas, 1948, 2017. Time was the school supplied the Crayolas. A box thrown in the middle of the table. Time was the school supplied the milk and the graham crackers. Time was all you had. All you had to do was bring a small rug to take your nap on. The milk was warm after the break, left in the window just to chill. And now the straw you're using has collapsed because it's paper. Who knew? After one sip, after the crackers, it's time for a bigger treat. Time to draw. Time to draw, time to color. You had to be fast, or the good colors were all gone. As I pulled out my workbook to show a friend of mine, look at what I did when I was in the kindergarten. She says, she being white, noticed that all the figures were brown. She says, oh my God, you were so aware at 5 years old. I said, no, you asshole, that was all that was left. The hat pin. My grandmother, a proud, pretty, high yellow woman, liked to take me on walks in the evening. Her routine was to don her hat, coat, and gloves. I always followed a habit, and the role was easy to speak, easy to talk, only to those you knew. Avoid any contact with any ruffians or strangers. What we didn't know, and what I later learned, was that Eva had sharpened this hat pin, which had belonged to her mother, down to a fine point. A few mashers approached us, and oh my God. So after a while, after she had poked several men, we were known as those uppity women with the hat pin. This is H.A.'s first Friday. This is my grandfather. First Friday of the month, important, the most important day of the month, lodge meeting. Eva's ironing a freshly starched fringe cuff shirt. You can hear the iron on the wire. Razor strop being hit with straight edge razor. His hair covered by a stocking cap. What pretty wavy hair he has. He keeps his Murray's on the stove in the pie tin to melt it so that he can slip that hair down. He buffs his nails and trims his mustache. No slapping my gramps. Tweed on the reach. Sprinkled the powder on his palms of his hands. The doorbell rings. The night begins. It's the Metropolitan Insurance Man. First of the month, time to collect premiums. As he walks into the dining room, Eva shakes her hand at him. No drinking. Well, darling, it's just a little snort. Just one for the road. Where are my cufflinks? Same usual thing. In the dresser, top drawer. I climb on a chair to retrieve them. I pull them out, hand him the velvet case. He flips it open. 2 large elk's teeth. Attached to gold links. The next question always, where's my tie rack? Where's my tie pin? Okay. Pull it out next to the cufflinks. 1 great big elk's tooth. He proceeds opening the box and revealing the large teeth and the chain and the gold is twinkling. Drinking and telling local news and customs. A few more snorts and Mr. Williams is off, teetering. To the next house with more snorts and more stories. Now H.A. Walker dons his uniform. Suit, polished shoes, which I must say are perfect since I polished them for a quarter apiece. The socks are thick and thin, the lodge ring, his fez, his gloves, his apron in his pouch, and boy, he is off to gamble. White handkerchief, left pocket, fedora, he's gone. Union deals to be made, various union news to be heard, deaths, illness, births, politics, and best of all, cards to be played. Let's not forget the snake eyes for the not-so-faint of heart. An occasional change of crosswords, nothing major. Plans for the next meeting, next hunting trips or fishing trips, plans for the next funeral to attend, plans for the next hospital visits. It's still a little early. They head to the Blue Room. If we're lucky, maybe the Count is playing. Blue Room, yeah, that's Kansas City. That's Count Basie's home. Well, joint starts jumping, and it's getting late. Girls are looking good, guys are very slick. Bourbon and Branchwater. Things are hopping. It's time to go home. Oh boy. There's Eva. Eva's waiting for him as the car pulls up. The white walls scrape the curb. Hello, darling. Don't you darling me. The next thing we know, the next part of this routine is the coffee is perking. Eva is in the kitchen and she is reading him the riot act, and he is drinking coffee out of a saucer, and he is hurting. She tones it down, she wanders off, her voice fades, his head in his hands, his eyes fade, the house pays, and the lights go out.
Thank you. Nice. All right. We have Garrett, then Dr. Hal, then our closer, Garrett Murphy. Is he back? He's back? Oh, yeah. Bring up here a nice round, and then we got Hal and then Ellie. And these door prizes to distribute to those individuals who are so interested and or inclined.
Hal and then who?
Hal and then Allie. She's coming back. She's the closer.
So she got...
Yeah, I changed so the closer gets an extra thing so people want to be the closer. I figured that's the first beneficiary of this new program. I thought.
Very good. I'm glad I asked.
Thank you, Steve.
Reading up, so
Yeah. All right. Let's start. Thank you.
And one piece tonight is the Oppressor Rulebook.
Oh, I love it.
Attention, if you are reading this or hearing this, you have no doubt purchased the Oppressor Rulebook. Rest assured, our aim is to take you through each commandment in this manual to make you achieve all your efforts work for your investment. We shall begin the reading of the commandments, which are as follows. Oppressors expect cools from the ones they oppress. Oppressors feel good by making others feel bad. Oppressors pick symbols as easy targets instead of going after the actual culprits. Oppressors believe that they are the salt of existence. Oppressors believe that only they can be right and are shocked that others can possibly think for themselves. Oppressors always believe that they are perfect, so how dare we oppose them? The oppressors' favorite hiding places are tradition, popular opinion, authority, poll numbers, and sound bites. Oppressors never believe that their actions are wrong. Oppressors never believe they can never be wrong. That is what makes them oppressors. Warning! Some oppressors believe they can never be oppressors simply because the institutions make that impossible. On the contrary, you don't have to be a race to be an oppressor. You don't have to be a gender to be an oppressor. You don't have to be an economic state to be an oppressor. Don't have to be a hierarchy to be an oppressor. Don't have to be a religion to be an oppressor, or ideology, size, nationality, or any other demo to be an oppressor. You just have to oppress to be an oppressor, and not even about 24 hours to be an oppressor. And you sure can't be born an oppressor, for oppression is action plus intention, not accident of birth. Oppression is oppression, is oppression, is oppression. Therefore, you too can be an oppressor. And now the replies from the makers and readers of this book. What do you have to say? No, poppycock, preposterous, erroneous. I do it because I love you. Baloney, I didn't do anything wrong. Deal with it. It's your fault, your problem. Get with the program, go with the flow because I said so. Respect your elders. Just jealous is on your mind. You'll thank me for it someday. Obey authority. My way or the highway. Do as I say, never mind what I do. It's your destiny. It's genetic in your face. You just made it up, made it up, made it up. Well, what can you expect from a perpetrator but a typical oppressor line? That concludes this reading of the Oppressor Rulebook. See never for more options.
Never for more options. All right. The debonair Dr. Hal. Oh, Rusty, can you put the name of the book that you read from on? Can you hand that to me? I always wanted. I didn't get a chance to write it down, but Dr. Hal, bring him with a nice round of applause.
In keeping with the theme of wildlife, I thought of Blake's Auguries of Innocence, but this, among its other virtues, is shorter. A version of an Anglo-Saxon poem by W.S. Merwin, Leviathan. This is the Black Sea brute bulling through wave rack, ancient as ocean's shifting hills, who in sea toils traveling, who furrowing the salt acres heavily, his wake hoary behind him, the fist of his forehead over wastes grey-green crashing, among horses unbroken from bellowing fields, past bone wreck of vessels, tide ruin, loss of bodies no longer bobbing, and islands of ice gleaming, who ravening the rank sea flood, overmastering the dark sea marches, finds home and harvest, frightening to fool hardiest mariners, his sighs were difficult to describe, The hulk of him is like hills heaving. Dark it has crags of drift ice, crowns cracking in thunder, like land's self by night, dark looming, surf churning and trailing along his shores, rushing, shoal waters boding about the dark of his jaws. And who would moor at his edge and fare on afoot should find gates of no gardens, but the hill of dark underfoot diving, and closing overhead the cold deep and drowning. He is called Leviathan, and named for rolling. First created he was of all living creatures. He has held Jonah 3 days and nights. He is that curling serpent that in ocean is. Sea fright he is, and the shadow under the earth. Days there are, none the less, when he lies like an angel, although a lost angel, on the wast's unease. No eye of man moving, bird hovering, fish flashing, creature whatever, who after him came to inherit earth's emptiness. Froth at flanks seething soothes to stillness, waits. With one eye he watches, dark of night sinking last. With one eye day rise, as at first, over foaming pastures. He makes no cry, though that light is a breath. The sea curling, star-climbed, wind-combed, cumbered with itself. Still, as at first it was, is the hand, not yet contented, of the Creator, and he waits for the world to begin. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hal. And now, the super duper clincher closer of the evening, Hallie's coming forth again. Give her a round of applause. Much like the keynote, the closer also has a spot in the regular open, celebrating the conclusion of our evening program.
Great. This is a story in the outdoor education world. We tell a lot to our students. This version was told to me by someone named Big Brown Bats, because where I work we have nature names, and I still to this day do not know his real name.
What's your name?
Oh, mine's Otter.
Otter.
So if you call me Otter, I will definitely still respond.
Otter.
Yes. All right. So one day there was a young child in a city very much like this one, a city like all cities, and this child had friends, as many children do. However, felt a little empty still. It's this little being, little human, trying to figure out all of the confusing ways of this adult, chaotic world. This child had an amazing mother, and the mother was working so hard trying to keep food on the table and have this child go to school and be entertained, and keeping this child entertained was the hardest thing, because this was a brilliant child. So, of course, one day, this child, will call her Susie for now. Susie walks up to her mom and says, "Mom, I am so bored." And her mom sighs because, this is a hard one to cure. There's a lot of hard things out there, but boredom from a 10-year-old is a tough one to work with. And she says, "Well, Susie, have you tried making a drawing of something?" And Susie sighs and says, "Okay, I'll go try and do that." And then comes back 5 minutes later and says, "Mom, I'm so bored." And Mom's trying to keep food on the table and keep her own work happening. She says, "Well, Susie, have you tried maybe seeing if the neighbors are home and you can play with the neighbors' kids, and maybe you all can go to the park?" Susie shrugs, So Mom's feeling bad. She wants Susie to be entertained, and she ends up deciding she's going to make the world's most intense, elaborate puzzle. And so she takes a giant page out of her geography book from college, and she rips it up into a lot of pieces and figures, okay, my 10-year-old kid, there's no way they're going to see this map of places and be done in 5 minutes. Susie will be entertained for the rest of the evening, and I will not feel guilty. So she gives Susie this pile, saying, all right, Susie, this is a map of the world on the back, and there aren't even names of the country on it. So here you go. And Susie's so excited. She loves puzzles. She says, thanks, Mom. She runs into the other room, comes back 5 minutes later and says, Mom, I'm done. And her mom says, oh my God, Susie, really? Are you? And she looks. Sure enough, Susie has taped this puzzle, this complicated geographical map of the world. And her mom says, this doesn't even, how'd you do that so fast? And she turns it over, and there's this big face on the back of that page. There's a big face of a child. And she says, oh, Mom, it was so simple. I figured if I could just focus on making one child whole, the rest of the world would fall into place. Thank you.